News channel.
So Jubes and Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political budgets.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
You're with GB News. The top story this hour. A man who broke into Windsor Castle armed with a loaded crossbow with the intent to kill the late Queen has been sentenced to 9 years in jail for the crime of treason. Jaswant Singh Chail wandered around the grounds for 2 hours on Christmas Day 2021 while the late Queen was still in residence. The Old Bailey heard today he'd been encouraged by an artificial intelligence virtual girlfriend with which he'd exchanged thousands of messages. The judge said Chail was non-psychotic and therefore culpable when he devised his plot, but had lost touch with reality and became psychotic by the time he carried it out. The coach driver in the Wirral bus crash has been described as having suffered an event at the wheel before the incident which killed both him and a 15-year-old girl, a coroner's court in Liverpool heard today. CCTV footage from inside the coach cabin has been examined. It shows the driver, David Shrimpton, suddenly slumped to the left while he's driving. 54 people were on the bus when it then overturned on the M53 last Friday. Sir Keir Starmer has revealed an extra 700,000 urgent dental appointments would be introduced under a Labour government in plans to improve the nation's oral health. The party would also introduce supervised toothbrushing in schools across England in order to tackle preventable tooth decay in children. People in most need of treatments would be prioritised under proposals aimed at rescuing NHS dentistry. The plans would be financed, Labour says, by using £111 million a year from abolishing non-domiciled tax status. International news, and at least 51 people have died after a Russian missile hit a cafe in northeastern Ukraine. It's reported the victims were attending a funeral. Ukrainian officials have called it a heinous crime. The attack was the deadliest in Kharkiv region since the start of the war. And the Prime Minister has met with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today, saying Europe must face down the threat from Russia. Rishi Sunak's currently in Spain for the European Political Community Summit. And he condemned today's attack and reiterated the UK's support for Ukraine in the ongoing war. Lastly, the Princess of Wales has joined some of England's World Cup winning wheelchair rugby league squad today. She got stuck in as well at the event in Hull, where she sat in a wheelchair and took part in the game. Kate, who's patron of the Rugby Football League, is there to help promote inclusivity in the sport, much to the delight of all involved. You're with GB News across the UK on TV, in your car, on digital radio, and now on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. This is Britain's news channel.
Thank you, Polly. Hello and welcome to Headliners, your nightly run through the next day's newspapers with 3 comedians. I'm one of them. I'm Leo Kirsten. Tonight I'm joined by GB News' answer to Anton Deck, because nobody's sure which one's which, and one of them likes drink driving. It's Paul Cox and Lewis Schaefer. How are you both doing?
That's Paul. I don't drink.
You don't drive either, do you?
No, I don't drive either.
Would you drink if it was made out of meat? Because you're sugar-free, aren't you?
If it gave me a buzz. I mean, the fact is that meat gives you a buzz. It doesn't give you a buzz. It just takes away the pain, which is like giving you a buzz.
So you're high on meat?
I am high on not being in pain.
Delicious meat high. OK, that's the chit-chat out of the way. Let's have a look at tomorrow's front pages. The Daily Mail has nurses drugged stroke patients for an easy life. The Telegraph leads with Starmer will not bring HS2 back to life. The Guardian leads with Starmer must be bold, urges team from Labour 1997 win. The Times has CPS calls for clemency over mercy-killing cases. The Eye has new HS2 plan is in doubt 24 hours after Sunak's speech. And finally, the Daily Star has the rise and rise of the Billy no-mates. And 1 in 10 doesn't have a single pal. And those were your front pages. And let's have a closer look at those front pages, starting with the Times, Paul.
Yeah, the Times, Leo. CPS calls for clemency over mercy-killing cases. So prosecutors in England and Wales have been provided with guidance on when it may not be appropriate to bring charges in cases of mercy-killing.
And what is mercy-killing?
So mercy-killing is, largely if you've got an unwell loved one, terminally ill, and they ask you, please, can you help me see my way out? Essentially, you're killing them to give them mercy. Right. Which has often led to things like...
Does it have to be their idea? Or...
Yeah, well, this is the point of this new...
How ill do they have to be? I want to inherit a house.
So this is the point of the new legislation, really. You do have to have some proof that it has been their will. You can't just, say they chose to be suffocated with a pillow whilst they were driving. That you have to be able to prove that. And it's a step forward, I think, because there have been a number of people, husbands and wives, that have, faced manslaughter and even gone to prison for years for having... All they've really done is taken mercy on their loved ones and helped them die.
Yeah, but I mean, Lewis, this raises some questions, such as people could exploit the loopholes, perhaps, to maybe off someone who isn't ready. Could persuade somebody that they want to go. And we've seen in Canada where they have the Medical Assistance in Dying programme, which is state-sanctioned euthanasia. It's ended up being pushed on young people, people who are completely viable, people who just have minor health issues, even people who just have depression or have financial problems.
Well, this is part of an agenda. It's part of the one world death cult. Is trying to get rid of as many people as possible. It's different than Canada. Canada, the state will do it, but here, I guess it's the British kind of attitude. You do it yourself. Go out there, kill somebody, and we won't press charges.
So I'm going to have to push back for Ofcom balance this early in the show.
Yeah.
What did you call it? A one world death cult?
A one world death cult is that they don't. Is that the problem is we've got a population collapse that's happening. There's going to be way too many old people. Like I think 20% of the Japanese population is above 20. 80 years old.
Yeah.
We need...
And we're not having enough children.
And we're not having enough children to take care of them, and we're importing people. You think the people who were imported, the migrants, you think they want to take care of the older people? No. We want those people dead. We do. We want them to die. Is that me? I want them to live. I want people to live.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're probably quite near the risk bracket for this.
Yes. I don't want someone looking at me and saying, you know what, I'm going to help the guy out. I'm going to help the guy out. I mean, my sort of girlfriend, maybe she's my ex-girlfriend, she said to me, we should have a suicide pact. Lewis, you go first.
I was just going to add a little bit of balance to this, because, I mean, that's brilliant entertainment, but it's not exactly what's happening.
I mean, it is a fact. It's not entertainment.
It's not exactly what's happening yet. And suicide pacts are included in this. This is guidance, law guidance, saying, you know what, there might be cases for some leniency where the proof is that the loved one was trying to help somebody out, and they desperately wanted that help. Yeah. It's not going to... Well, it's not going to help out people who just want to kill Lewis Schaefer.
We've got safeguards in here as well, so factors tending in favour of prosecution, where they will prosecute people who have conducted mercy killings, will include the suspect influencing the victim not to seek medical treatment, palliative care or independent professional advice, or denying them access to such
treatment. It'll be wink, wink. At the end of the day, if people are not happy living, there's a big solution. Their hearts, they just die. You just die. Sometimes I'm sitting here and I'm wishing I were dead.
You've been in Britain too long, Lewis. Anyway, what have the Telegraph got in the front cover, Lewis?
Speaking of wishing you were dead, this HS2 stuff, which everybody knew was such a colossal waste of money back in the day, they knew it was going to cost billions, and now it costs tens of billions.
Well, the initial cost, I think, was around 38 billion, and it's ballooned to 100 billion.
100. It's like they're saying...
And read the headline, please.
Okay. Stormer, whoever this guy is, will not bring HS2. Tony Blair #2, that's what he is. Stormer will not bring HS2 back to life. So he said, what's happening here is that Rishi Sunak says we're going to stop HS2, which is the train line from Birmingham up to Manchester.
Well, it goes from London to...
that's right, but that section...
supposed to go from London to Manchester. Yeah. Now he's going to stop it at Birmingham, which seems ridiculous because Birmingham is well served by trains, so we really need sort of faster and more competitive routes going to Manchester to open up the north, and also the south, where they are going to continue with building HS2. Is actually a lot... It's needed less, there are better transport links, and also it's going to be a lot more expensive to build in the south because land is more expensive.
But funny that they only did the part that benefits London. Funny that. And I'm a Londoner, but if you were living in the hinterlands, I'd be furious.
And do you think this is going to damage the Tories because...
Nothing could damage the Tories. The Tories are
So, but, I mean, they had the blue wall. Do you think they're going to lose, or whatever colour wall it was?
I don't know. I'm a bad prognosticator, but I think the Tories are in trouble.
Yep.
What does Paul say? Sorry, go to Paul.
just wanted to save himself.
I just wanted to see you sweat more.
Because most of the people are Tory voters. They don't want to hear that.
Well, I'm not sure they will be this election. But Paul, what do you make of this?
Well, it's fantastically and brilliantly Tory from Starmer, isn't it? It's like he's watched this week's conference and gone, "That is such a good idea. I'm not going to back out of that." And do you know what? He's probably wise not to. I have said all along that I think a Great Britain would continue with HS2. I don't think it's for now. I think HS2 would be for the future. However, you know what? It's now that has to pay for it. And some of the solutions that Sunak has come up with are actually very good. So he's actually strengthening that link up north. There is an argument.
He's planning to connect towns up north rather than north to south.
Because there is a strong argument that why should you have to be connected to London? Why can't you be self-sustainable up there? Why do all roads and rail links have to lead to London? Yeah. I'm still firmly believe that HS2 would have been a good thing. It's interesting that Starmer's come out because this goes against the 2019 manifesto where they said they would deliver it. So I think he's going to have a bit of kickback. Which he's going to have kickback throughout his whole of his reign if he gets in, because he is pretty Tory.
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's something both parties seem to pick, whatever ideas they like from the other party. So now there's no choice between either of them. Anyway, moving on to The Guardian now, Paul. What have they got in the front?
Yes, The Guardian's got this huge, scary headline that says, out of control. Now, of course, this is about climate change, and this is looking back at this year's statistics, saying that globally, and September was the hottest on record, and so was August and July. I think it depends where you were globally. I mean, what we have to say at this point is, I think it's proof positive that the Earth is warming and that there seems to be a correlation between CO2 output and that warming. However,
people are saying that's a bad thing.
They are saying that's a bad thing. I mean, I think you and I agree on this, that CO2 in general is a very good thing, and if we don't have much CO2, we don't have very much of us. One thing I do take issue with all of this stuff is that they seem so hell-bent on proving it to be right. So that they just hammer these statistics in the most sort of terrifying way possible to try and win over people, because if they can't scare them, how could they possibly win them over?
So some people are saying it's like Project Fear during COVID. You know, they're presenting one set of evidence. Obviously, you know, other people would say, no, there's a scientific consensus that, you know, climate change is real. It's going to be incredibly damaging to the world, and it's caused by man's actions.
Well, people believe that. Lots of people believe that. And when you have a propaganda vehicle like The Guardian, who is basically the public relations arm of Team World, and Team World is a death cult, and they want people is a death cult. They want people to stop having children, and they want people to stop because they think we're bad. So they want us to do.
Well, I don't think it's because they think we're bad. I think, you know, people have just had fewer children because now both parents need to work, and it's very expensive to afford a house. So it's difficult to have children unless you're either very rich or very poor.
Those are all factors which Team World is initiating. They're making it more and more expensive. They're forcing people to work. And this graph that's on here, which shows it was colder and now it's getting hotter. I mean, where did this come from? First of all, climate, there's only one place in the entire world that basically has a large area with accurate climate stats, and that's the United States of America. Most places in the world, they haven't kept records for very long. Even from 1940, they don't know what the temperature is like in the middle of Argentina or in the African thing. You're supposed to interrupt me because I don't.
So question the science is what you're saying.
I say.
No, go on.
I say when somebody says they're a climate scientist, I think to myself, they're probably stupider than anyone who calls themselves a physicist. Really? That's how low I believe in these people.
Okay, I don't think it's a competition, and they've definitely got more money than the physicists. Anyway, moving on, we've got the Daily Star now, and apparently Brits have fewer than 4 true friends. Who are your other 2, Lewis?
I don't have 2. That means I've got 1. I've got 1.7. I don't believe this. This is the average Brit, according to the Daily Star, now has just 3.7 true friends. The rise of Billy No Mates, and it says 1 in 10 doesn't have a single pal. And I will say this, this is research that was done by a donut shop. And it was done...
How do your researchers rank compared to climate change researchers?
You know what? I would trust them more than climate change researchers. I'm not going to mention the name because it's just, this is what happens. This is how you get in the newspaper. You do research.
I'll mention a different name just to annoy them. It's Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, Dunkin' Donuts, which is delicious. Delicious Dunkin' Donuts. When I was a kid at summer camp, I used to eat them. I would never eat Krispy Kreme. Disgusting.
Paul, what do you think of this as a true Brit?
Can I just say I'd eat them both?
You have.
I've got some in each pocket. Anyway, sorry.
You ate all the donuts. Is that what they say in this?
Well, let's peck on me in a minute. We need to finish this. We've got to go to a break. Look, I would say that friends are admin, and, you know, who wants more than 1 or 2 anyway? But what I would say is modern technology has prevented us from making more and more friends. When we all grew up, we had to go out and play with friends, make friends in the woods. Strange men would come up and you'd be told not to talk to them, but, you know, at least they wanted to be friends. We don't have that anymore. We're all sat behind a screen and nobody gets to interact with one another, so I'm not surprised, but who wants friends?
And those men are just pretending to be 14-year-old girls.
Some of them are very helpful.
So that's the front page is done. We get under the covers in the next section to look at mercy killings, banana weather and Biden building the wall. See you in a couple of minutes.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christie's, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News and GB News Radio.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
and Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, kicking this section off with the Times. And I'm not saying we live in a nanny state, but the government just moved one step closer to wiping our bums for us.
Well, you know what? Thank you. School, you know what? Maybe we're heading in that direction, basically. School, according to the Times, school pupils to brush teeth under supervision as part of a Labour plan. The party announces a strategy to save the NHS dentistry because they don't think kids are brushing their teeth. And I just went to the dentist this week, so I know all about teeth brushing. I do not brush my teeth. And I think and I'm going to say something, if you eat meat, you don't need to brush your teeth.
I can't believe that this is a story about toothbrushing, and I've still got to provide Ofcom balance.
Yeah.
People should brush their teeth. I would just like to say, I mean, make your mind up.
I'm going to tell you what. Yeah.
The dentists, big toothpaste, whatever you call it.
Big toothpaste. Yeah.
They push a message.
And big
you should brush your teeth. There's only
been toothbrushing for about 100 years.
Yeah,
People didn't have that.
Sweets.
And there's only been sweets. So the question is, if you eliminate all carbohydrates are sugars, starches, pastas, white sugar, everything that's made out of plants. Plants are evil. Your teeth will not rot. I've been to the dentist the first time in 4 years to see Dr. Ali at the East Dulwich Dentistry. If you want to go see the handsomest guy, he's like a Bollywood star, and he's sitting there and I'm looking at him and I'm just saying, I don't want to leave the chair. He was so good looking.
Yeah.
And he told me my teeth were perfect were perfect. I mean, I have a broken tooth on the side here, which is not attractive.
But what do you make of this, Paul? Because I mean, this is sort of nanny statism. It's Labour trying to save money in NHS dentistry, by getting people to brush their teeth. Do you think it makes sense?
Well, I'm still getting over the fact that Lewis hasn't brushed his teeth for years. I just thought the sewers were broken here at GB News. This eminent... I mean, first of all, let's just tackle the first part of the story, which is Labour are going to make teachers brush teeth like they haven't got enough on their plate already. I mean, they're going to be striking forever at this rate if they've got to you know, start brushing gnashes as well. But this comes from a pretty serious issue we've got in the UK now, and it's that we've got a complete lack of dentistry. There's dentistry deserts, as they call them. It's very, very, very difficult to get hold of an NHS dentist now, and if you want to pay for dentistry on something like Denplan, it's extremely expensive, particularly if you're a low-income family. So what they're trying to overcome here in a typical Labour type way is that if they teach kids to brush teeth, I wonder who else can do that, then they probably won't need the dentist so often. And statistically, most hospital appointments or admissions for children under 6 years old are for children who have dental issues because they've never been taught to brush their teeth correctly, and they've eaten lots of sweets.
No, because the poorest people of our country have the worst diet. They've got really bad diets. They're all processed foods. It's all carbs. And it's like the same thing with the NHS. You want to save the NHS? Become healthy. Stop eating sugar. Go keto. Do not eat plants.
So this is actually quite an Ayn Rand-style right-wing move. They're teaching self-reliance. I like that, to save the state money. Anyway, The Independent now and Time magazine have had Stalin, Hitler and Osama bin Laden on the cover. But somehow this one manages to be the worst one yet, Lewis.
Yeah, this is Humza Yousaf, he's on the cover of Time magazine. He's named a next-generation leader, Time magazine, which used to be a magazine. And this article is in The Independent.
There's a picture of him right there on the cover of the magazine.
Right. And it used to be, and the truth is, there is no magazine. I don't think that they print a hard... Do they print?
No, they do print a hard copy. And they've got... I mean, he's part of 10 next-generation leaders.
Right.
I mean, until the next election in Scotland.
Yeah, but the truth is, it's the next generation. I think it's going to be like a curse. More like it.
Yeah, because it didn't work out too well for
Hitler.
The people mentioned.
Well, Hitler had a good run for a while. One thing I would say is Humza Yousaf couldn't lead a conga dance, let alone a new generation. I mean, He'd
probably complain that the conga dance was racist.
He certainly would. And it probably is, Leo, for all I know. Everything else is, as you well know. I mean, he can't even believe this.
I
mean, the man couldn't even look at the camera. Did you see the photograph? I don't know what he's looking at. He's been distracted by something sparkly somewhere. He couldn't even look at the camera. I don't believe he believes this. The only person who could have voted for this is potentially his mum, maybe his kids or someone. The man is not going to lead anything.
I like the fact that that he's on the cover there because he is the first Muslim leader of a country. I mean, no one's told...
Not a country.
It said, this is what they said, what the article said. He was the first Muslim leader of a Western country. I got news for you. Scotland is a nice place. It is a nation. It is a people, but it is not a country yet.
I think it is a country, but I'm not totally...
It doesn't have a military. It doesn't have embassies.
We've got a military.
We have a military,
but... The Scottish Guard.
But Scotland... Oh, does it really?
No, we've got... I mean, we've got a big presence in the
military. So what?
Military.
That doesn't mean that the French Foreign Legion is a country because they've got the thing.
And just for balance, I should probably add that there are some people who think that Humza Yousaf isn't completely useless. Anyway, moving on with it, we've got the Times, and Biden is copying Donald Trump's ideas, and I'm not talking about financial fraud, Paul.
Yeah, I'm going to say something quite controversial in a second. Don't worry, it's OK. Biden to build 20 miles of wall on US border with Mexico. Donald Trump has revelled in a decision by Biden administration to build a new section of wall along the US border with Mexico, claiming it proved he was right. Trump was right. Trump was right to build the wall. Trump was right about many things. He was right about Sweden. I mean, you only have to look back during, I think it was 2017, where everyone just laughed. And he's like, what about Sweden? And everyone's like, what about Sweden, Donald? It's now a multicultural mess with riots all over the place, just civil and cultural unrest.
And gang killing.
He saw this coming. He saw this coming. Now, I know a broken clock is right twice, but he's right about a number of things. He's right about Biden. He's been right about Biden all along. Everyone can see it.
He was right about the reliance reliance on Russian oil and gas.
He was right about the reliance on Russian oil and gas. He was right about the Clintons. That's probably me dying in a lake incident tomorrow now. But he was right about a lot of things. And the trouble is, each time he gets proved right, it only bolsters his base, because they're all going to be behind this now. They're going to.
But I think he's wrong. He was right about Melania, and he was wrong. He was wrong about Ivana. Ivana was amazing, and he gave up on. I tell you why he's wrong about this. Because a loser builds walls. A winner goes in and aggressively stops the people from coming. He goes in, maybe takes over Mexico, makes a border area like what's happening, and that's what he should do. At Trump Tower, if he had people coming into Trump Tower, he wouldn't say, I'm going to build a huge fence in front of Trump Tower. No, if he was a man and he had the power, he would get guns and kill people.
But come on, no, I mean, Lewis, that's ridiculous. Trump Tower has got walls. It's got walls. It's got doors that lock. So they obviously take that approach to their security as well. And the US is facing an unprecedented, I know that word is used a lot these days, but the migrant crisis. I mean, 15 million illegal immigrants coming across the border, and now there's action starting to happen. Biden is taking this action because what the southern states, the border states, are doing is they've started busing the migrants to liberal, like Democrat-controlled cities like Chicago and New York, and all of a sudden these Democrats who've been like, no, we should have open borders, are having to deal with the consequences of their actions. And do you think that's something that we should do in this country as well? Like bust the migrants, instead of putting them on RAF bases.
Just sorry.
Bust them to where the Labour vote, where all the Guardian...
Gary Lineker's house.
Yeah, just pile. Like we could build cities in Islington.
I mean, we've got one advantage. We've got the English Channel, and it is the English Channel, by the way. We've got the English Channel.
And unfortunately, people have invented boats.
Yes. And our biggest problem is this cultural war issue where we've abandoned all logic in favour of ideology. So instead of saying this is good for everyone, no matter which way you vote, no matter what your gender is, what your cultural background is, have as many people here as we're able to look after, whatever colour, whatever culture, whatever they are, but don't overdo it, because if you do, you end up with no dentists, hospitals overrun, and all sorts of problems, and that's exactly what's happening because logic has gone out the window.
Now, in America...
Backlash. Anyway, I've got to go to the break now, unfortunately. That's it for part 2, but coming up next, we've got good news for cold women and bad news for gold diggers. See you very soon.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood.
And Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got The Independent now, and it's official. In Scotland, it's now a criminal offence to crack a joke, Paul. Or at least it was. He's actually got off with it.
Yeah, exactly. Rishi Sunak to face no action over Nicola Sturgeon's joke from Police Scotland. Let's remind ourselves what he said. Nicola Sturgeon wanted to go down in the history books as the woman who broke up our country, but it now looks like she may go down for very different reasons. Now, of course, he didn't get in any trouble for this. The only way you can get in trouble with Police Scotland is if you misgender someone. They're not interested in this sort of stuff. I mean, the fact that the Elba Party, who are no friends of Sturgeon whatsoever. In fact, they're more anti-Sturgeon than me.
So they're a splinter independent party led by Alex Salmond.
Another fish.
Yeah.
And the fish people, the independence fish people of Scotland. So I guess they were trying to say that it might prejudice the trial in some way, but he was very careful with his language. Yeah. It was very light entertainment in terms of its joke. It was amusing. It got a laugh. I giggled when I heard it. There was no offence to be taken anywhere, and they just need to...
Yeah, and if he wants to influence the trial, he can make a few phone calls when nobody's looking. Lewis, what do you make of this? Are you worried about the state of comedy in Scotland? Because, I mean, the hate crime bill that the SNP brought through does actually criminalise offensive jokes performed on stage and even in your own home.
Well, I don't know what's going on over there. I know what's going on over here. We can't say practically anything without being interrupted and saying, oh, no, you can't say that, or you got to say something else.
It's just you, mate.
Or me, you know, like anybody's believing what I'm saying. I mean, what this is scary. It's so un-American. We're not allowed to discuss a pending court case. That means we don't know what's going to happen until the actual trial is taking place.
But there is no court case. She was arrested and she's charged at the moment.
What? Not a court case, but an actual police investigation.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed to prejudice an investigation. That's a pretty core part of the.
No, it isn't. Not in the United States of America.
No, I think in the United States,
they should be able to make
a jury that hasn't can.
But every jury,
anyway, we're getting onto a tangent now.
America's the best.
Telegraph with some bad news for climate change. Women are going to get control of thermostats, Lewis.
Yes, this is about menopausal women in the Telegraph. Menopausal women should be allowed to turn the heating down at work. And I don't know about menopausal. I do know about menopausal women, but this is a quango that's coming up with plans to deal with. They want to keep menopausal women at work. So they're saying to the they're saying to the government, maybe you should let them turn down the heat or turn up the heat, whatever they want. You know what it is? I've seen menopausal women, whatever they want to do. I've seen old women. They're all like that. Whatever they want to do, young or old. Why should it just be old women? You can't say no.
Government ruling that just do what women want.
Just do
what you want, and we'll all get a peaceful day.
For a quiet life, right? Exactly.
Do you know what? Whenever it's a Lewis story, Leo, I always think I understand it. Then he talks for 2 minutes, and I think I don't understand anything anymore. None of it makes sense. Lewis is my king. One thing I would say is that men don't mind the room being cooler either. So these menopausal women are joining men. So the only people they're really going to be arguing with, I guess, is younger women. But look, we should take the menopause seriously. What we shouldn't take seriously is these quangos. I mean, how much money got spent on this, by the way? What a ridiculous... I mean, if this was more than £4, it was a waste of money. Because, yes, employers... If there's a menopausal woman who's suffering with a medical condition and says, I could work a lot better if it was slightly cooler in here, then just turn it down or open up the window. I don't see what the problem is.
Or some of them want it turned up. And do you think this could explain the gender pay gap? I mean, it's just making up for heating bills.
I don't see gender, so I can't see any difference in any of these two people.
OK, well, moving on, we've got erectile problems, belly fat and constant tiredness. But enough about me. Here's the Telegraph with some depressing health news for men, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Erectile problems, belly fat and constant tiredness, which happens to be the working title of my autobiography. But this is a story that's really hit the headlines in the last few days, and it's the male menopause, the anthropause, I think it's called, something of that order. Anthropause, sorry, yeah. And, you know, it seems to be real. What it seems to be doing is really winding up people, particularly menopausal women. And I can absolutely understand that, because they're just getting recognition for needing, you know, some dispensation for going through the menopause. And all of a sudden we're like, well, we got it too. Look at me guts and me moobs.
Yeah, because there's a suggestion that men could have a year off for the menopause, which some scientists say doesn't even exist.
There's a cancer specialist here, Carol, who says, she wrote on Twitter, a year of paid leave for the male menopause, absolutely ridiculous. It would not be tolerated in any sensible country.
Well, so let's speak to a man who's been through it. Lewis, what do you make of this?
What I make of it, meat cures it all. My serum testosterone, for the people who are watching outside, they're going to want to know. My serum testosterone is at 36.5, which is abnormally high.
Are you selling the semen in yogurt cups or something?
And you know what? I just had my sperm tested.
Please.
And it was delicious.
Did it enhance its It's all.
and my free androgen, that's because it's not just your testosterone levels, it's what's actually available. Mine is at 40.5, which is in the normal range, so I am doing quite well.
Okay. And talking of your sperm count, this next story has The Guardian with some news that we already knew. Having kids changes you, Lewis.
Yeah, this is shocking, really. Pregnancy leads to permanent rewiring of the brain, study suggests. And research of mice, this was mice, hormonal changes late in pregnancy, not trigger. And this was done at the Francis Crick Institute, which is, I guess, the people who did the DNA testing, right? I guess they're right here in London.
I think it is. Yeah.
And this guy, Dr. Johnny Cole, and he basically says that mothers become motherly while they're pregnant, not after. They don't see the baby and then the endorphins or whatever it is come out. They become loving while they're pregnant, and they don't exactly know why it happens, right? I'm not sure. I didn't really understand it because there's some big words in this, but it's something to do with the progesterone or the estrogen, right? But now the interesting fact is that so many women are taking the pill, birth control pills, which are a mixture of progesterone, at least they were in my day, and estrogen, that it might be reducing the motherliness of women.
So it's not making them more motherly when they don't have a baby?
Yes.
Right. And we've seen, men go through changes as well. Apparently parts of your brain shrink and parts grow when you have a baby.
Again, this is pretty established science.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a relatively new father. You've fathered...
3.
Quite a few. And, I've managed to father one. And whether it's innate within us, you do just change.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that fascinates me about this is in The Guardian, and this article in The Guardian suggests that only female mice can get pregnant.
Right.
Which is confusing to me, because I've been reading The Guardian now for 18 months, and at no point have they ever believed that only females could get pregnant.
And did they
there.
actually ask those mice how they identify? This is so phobic. Anyway, we've got the Telegraph now reporting on greedy families stopping elderly parents from getting a bit of slap and tickle in their final years, Lewis.
Yeah, this is marriage laws could be rewritten to stop gold diggers inheriting from vulnerable pensioners, of which I could be one. I am a pensioner and I am vulnerable. I mean, luckily there's not much gold to dig, but it's they want to change the law to stop people with dementia from marrying, and this is just more government interference. Obviously, you want to look out for the dementia-ridden people, but who the hell wants the government to stop people from getting married?
Well, yeah, and also I feel with gold diggers, like if somebody dates a 92-year-old and does special services, they earn that money. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally against this. I want to be preyed upon. This is one thing to look forward to in old age, isn't it? Some really attractive 26-year-old woman who only wants you for your money. Yes, please. What a way to die.
Moving on, we've got the Mirror, and people are blaming the Tories for a rise in trans hate crime. Yeah, it's definitely because of the Tories and not because of trans people elbowing their way into women's sports, changing rooms and prisons, Lewis.
Yes, this is another one of my stories. Fury at Tory toxic language as transgender hate crimes soar by 11% in a year. So they're getting. So this is.
It's against an overall fall in hate crime.
Yes, it's an overall fall in hate crime. But the one thing that came up bigger is the trans thing, and they're blaming Rishi Sunak because there's men are men's speeches and women are women and that stuff. And so they're blaming the Tories. But the truth is that in leftist Wales, which is like super leftist, hate crime is up for trans people 22%.
Right.
So what explains that?
Well, I mean, one possible explanation is that there are a lot more trans people now, and they're a lot more visible. So, with a greater proportion of the population, you're going to naturally get.
But what about the difference between Wales, which is 22% up, and England, which is 11%?
Well, it's interesting. They've got quite a leftist Labour government, but it's still quite a traditional area.
Yeah, it is. And you've hit the nail on the head here. The statistics really are, if we take out the 11% soar, as the Mirror say, I mean, the people identifying as trans must be up by tens and tens of percent. It must be 40, 50% in that region.
I'm trans right now.
Well, exactly, and I'm proud of you, Leo. One thing I would say, though, is considering that rate, I'm not belittling this at all, really. 11% is still quite high, but it's not high in the context of that increase in people identifying as trans.
Yeah.
And aiming this at Sunak, when he said this, when this speech was on Wednesday, seems a little bit much.
Yeah, unless people had a time machine to see the speech and then go back in time and commit some horrific misgendering. Anyway, that's it for this section. In our final section, we've got people pretending to be non-binary, Stone Age funeral buffets, and a shrinking mountain. See you then.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
And Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa!
Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. every Sunday from 11. Join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christie's, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app, and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News and GB News Radio.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Telegraph now, and men have been accused of just pretending to be non-binary to get into a conference. Heads up, everyone who says they're non-binary is just pretending. It's not a real thing. Paul, tell us more.
Men gatecrash women in tech conference after lying about gender. Some male attendants claiming to be non-binary reportedly went into a Grace Hopper celebration event. And Grace Hopper, I believe, is a recruitment agency in the US. One of the biggest job fairs for women and non-binary
And we have a
technologists.
clip
do we? Okay.
Yeah, actually.
Simply put, some of you lied about your gender identity to be registered. And as evidenced by the stacks and stacks of resumes you're passing out, you did so because you thought that you could come here and take space to try to get a job. We need male allies. We need men who want to celebrate women, who want to work with and for women.
So the sound wasn't perfect on that, but basically he was saying that some men, or a lot of men, have turned up at this conference, and he suspects them of just pretending to be non-binary to get in. But how can he tell?
Hang on a minute. Isn't this self-ID? Yeah. Aren't we trying to bring this into law in parts of the UK?
Yeah.
If you walk into a room and you say you're a woman, you must be believed. And if you're not, I mean, I, for one, am quite angry about this.
And if they hand out resumes that have he/him at the top, that shows that they're gender fluid. They sometimes identify as non-binary, for example, when they're trying to get into a conference for women and non-binary people, and they sometimes identify as men. It's perfectly valid under gender ideology, and it's very unfair and discriminatory to try and other them and say that they're men.
No, we don't know. We don't know what's going on in people's minds, and gender is one of those things. It doesn't. I'm not sure it exists. So if someone wants to be a non-binary gender, they're going to be. There's something that doesn't exist in the way that they want it not to exist or to exist. It's so you can't be.
Is that a sentence that we've got to assemble the words ourselves?
I don't know.
I mean, isn't the real issue, Lewis, that we've got these conferences for women and non-binary people when they should just be for everyone, and everyone can come and be...
It's like having an argument over is God white or black. If you don't believe in God, it's a ridiculous argument. But if you think your God is black, then your God is black. If you think your God is white, then your God is white. If you think you're non-binary, then you're non-binary.
Yeah, but do you think
I believe it's
conferences?
real.
Do you think we should have conferences that isolate demographic groups, or should they just be for everyone?
No, we shouldn't. Obviously, that's why this thing is a problem.
I'll tell you what does exist: sex.
Not in my household.
It does, though, doesn't it? And you know, the trouble is with this level of ideology, is it chucks the baby out with the bathwater. If you're going to say at this conference you're only allowed this type of person, then we should be able to turn around and say, and why would we? I wouldn't want to anyway. But we should just have a white straight men conference. Now that's equality,
which is a normal tech conference,
which is a normal, white straight virgin conference. But it's just, you know, it's madness. I think it's madness.
Moving on, we've got the Express now. We've done this one already. Let's move on to the next one. We've got the Guardian, and apparently it's not just spiders that are more scared of us than we are of them, Paul.
Yeah, wild animals, or scaredy cat, as the headline said, wild animals fear humans more than lions, studies show. I mean, I simply don't believe this. I mean, to be fair, the most terrifying thing I have seen is George Galloway dress up as a cat for half an hour on Big Brother, and that was terrifying, but I don't think that was any more scary than a lion. So it says here that the big beasts have been toppled by humans, new research shows. It says that elephants, rhinos and giraffes are all now more afraid of people than other apex predators.
So we're the apex predator of them all.
Yeah, we are. Because we can.
Good news for you, because you like eating meat.
Yeah, because we can figure out. They say, oh, our teeth aren't meant for eating meat, but our hands are meant for making tools and killing things. So of course they're going to be afraid. The thing is, this is not going to last very long because the population is in a death collapse. It's what did I say? A death
spiral.
It's a death spiral.
Even in places like Africa that have traditionally had high population rates, they're starting to drop there as well.
They're not starting to drop in Africa, but the rate of increase is going, and they're going to turn a corner, and there's not going to be any people. So the animals will have their own world again.
There will be a massive drop in population if we start believing this. If we start taking on lions in the jungle. They don't live in the jungle. I've just read Jungle Book. But if that happens, we're doomed.
Moving on, we've got the Metro with the diet of Stone Age funerals. I think I'd rather have a platter of M&S sandwiches, Lewis, although you probably think this is healthy.
What do you give away what I'm going to say?
I don't know.
You said it. You said I probably...
Why don't you say something else?
No.
Say the headline.
I'm going to say the headline. Cannibalism. I'm not a news presenter.
I know, I can see that.
Maybe we should do a show where you do the headlines, or Paul does the headlines, and I comment, kind of like Free Speech Nation. I'm brilliant on that.
I suggested that, and they told me to get back in my box.
Is cannibalism was a funeral ritual among Stone Age humans, study finds. And they found bones in Cheddar Gorge, which have...
Amongst the cheese.
Amongst the cheese. I didn't realize that Cheddar Gorge was a place. I think it's something that I do at home. I gorge the cheddar. And that is clear signs that they've been chewed on by human beings. And what they're trying to say is, they're just saying this is, number one, it's not isolated. There are lots and lots of bones that they have found all across Europe where they've eaten. But they're also trying to show that the people ate it not for food, because in Cheddar Gorge there were loads of other animals, so they said they didn't need to because there were loads of other animals.
So this was a ritual. This was something spiritual.
No, I disagree. No, it isn't a ritual. I think the most nutritious kind of food that humans can eat is other humans.
Let's not give anybody any ideas. The last thing we need on GB News is a spate of cannibalism on our record. Anyway, moving on now, we've got the Metro with the news that Mont Blanc keeps shrinking. Well, I guess it is cold up there, Paul.
Yeah, it is very cold, and things do shrink in the cold. Scientists are baffled as Mont Blanc keeps shrinking. So Mont Blanc is the tallest mountain in Western Europe. It's slightly less tall after shrinking 2 metres in 2 years. Now, scientists say they're not sure why, but 3 paragraphs later, it says quite clearly why. It says Mont Blanc's height changes from year to year depending on the wind, the weather, which affects the thickness of the layer of snow on its surface. So they solved the problem in the same article. You know, I don't know what they were... I think they were trying to cram in some sort of climate change in here, but very quickly it sort of fell apart.
But they were wrong. They were wrong about this, because the deeper the snow, the more it goes down.
That's what I thought. I thought the snow, like the glaciers in the Ice Age, would push it down. So if it's
instead
they're saying, as that snow evaporates and as the water in the mountains evaporates, it shrinks. Which
but mountains haven't got anywhere to go, have they? There's not space below them. They're not on a suspension. If heavy snow doesn't mean low mountain.
Yes, it does. It's the same thing like in New Zealand, in Greenland, where the ice has pushed it down, and when the ice...
What's interesting about the UK is apparently because the glaciers were towards the top of the country in Scotland, so as they melted, the country's now tipping back. So the south of England is sinking into the sea. So, south of England, but you're not going to be here forever. I mean, I don't know how far we're going to sink. We might hit something. Probably hit some
The other
bedrock.
one.
Anyway, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Friday's front pages. The Daily Mail leads with nurses drugged stroke patients for an easy life. The Telegraph has Starmer will not bring HS2 back to life. The Guardian has Starmer must be bold, urges team from Labour 1997 win. The Times has CPS calls for clemency over Mercy killing cases. And the Eye has new HS2 plan is in doubt 24 hours after Sunak's speech. And finally, the Daily Star has the rise and rise of the Billy No Mates. And those were your front pages. And that's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Paul Cox and Lewis Schaefer. I'm back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Darius Davies and Josh Howie. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast, and we will see you the same time tomorrow night. And have a great weekend. I've been Leo Kearse. Goodbye.
I was brilliant tonight.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christie's, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app, and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News and GB News Radio.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
and Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Rishi Sunak is in Spain at the European political community. Didn't talk about that in Manchester, did he? We'll find out. Is he wasting his time trying to get a migration deal with other EU leaders? The governor of the Bank of England says Brexit has, wait for it, helped the City of London. Goodness me, you could knock me down with a feather. And at the end of a very, very heavy political week on programmes, we're going to finish off talking rugby.